The morning rush at the little corner cafe smelled of freshly baked bread, sizzling butter, and brewed coffee strong enough to wake even the sleepiest soul. Behind the counter, Ethan, a tall, broad-shouldered chef in his early 30s, flipped pancakes with practiced ease. His apron was smudged with flour, his sleeves rolled up, and despite the chaos of orders flying in, there was a calm rhythm in his movements. Ethan wasn't just a chef, he was a single father raising his 6-year-old daughter, Lily, after his wife had passed away years ago. Every dish he served carried a piece of his heart, because food, for him, was more than survival. It was love, memory, and healing. But that morning, amidst the chatter of customers and the clinking of cups, an unusual sound pierced the cafe, a baby's cry. It wasn't the playful cry of a hungry child. No, it was raw, desperate, trembling. Ethan's eyes instantly darted toward the source, and there in the corner booth sat a woman in an expensive suit, her glossy hair pinned perfectly, her phone buzzing non-stop on the table. In her arms was a tiny baby girl, red-faced and wailing with all her might. The woman tried rocking her, whispering, bouncing her on her knee, but nothing seemed to soothe the baby. She looked utterly lost, her hands shaking as she glanced around, clearly embarrassed by the stares from other customers. Ethan noticed her, the way she clutched her phone like a lifeline, the way her lips trembled though she wore an expensive diamond ring. She wasn't just any customer. She was powerful, wealthy, the type who walked into a room and owned it. But in that moment, she looked fragile, even helpless. Without hesitation, Ethan wiped his hands on his apron and stepped away from the counter. "Excuse me," he said gently, crouching near her table. "May I help?" The woman stiffened, pride flashing in her eyes. "She's fine," she muttered, but her baby's cries told a different story. Ethan didn't move away. Instead, he smiled softly at the little girl and said, "I have a daughter. I know that cry. She's hungry." The woman blinked, her composure cracking. "But she refuses the bottle. I don't know what to do." Ethan glanced at the kitchen behind him, then back at the baby. "If you'll trust me for 5 minutes, I can make her something. A recipe my mother once made when my daughter was this small. It's simple, warm, and gentle for babies." The billionaire woman hesitated, her instincts torn between pride and desperation. But the way Ethan's voice carried no judgment, only sincerity, made her nod reluctantly. "Fine. But, please hurry." Within minutes, Ethan returned with a small bowl. It was a soft mash of warm oats, blended with a touch of apple puree and honey for fragrance, not for sweetness. He cooled it carefully, tested the texture, then gently offered the spoon. To everyone's surprise, the baby stopped crying and took the food eagerly, her tiny fists clutching Ethan's finger as if he were the only safe thing in the world. The cafe went silent, customers watching as the gruff chef tenderly fed the billionaire's baby, his every movement careful, patient, almost fatherly. The woman sat frozen, her eyes stinging. She had a private chef at home, a nanny, even a full-time staff for her mansion. But not once had anyone fed her daughter with such devotion, such love in every small gesture. Tears welled in her eyes before she could stop them, slipping down her cheeks as her baby finally relaxed in Ethan's arms, resting her tiny head against his chest. For the first time in years, this woman, Amelia Sterling, CEO of a billion-dollar empire, felt something money had never given her. It was warmth. It was family. And it came from a stranger who wore a flour-stained apron and carried the weight of single fatherhood in his tired but kind eyes. Amelia Sterling didn't forget that morning. She had walked into the cafe stressed, drowning in emails, convinced her life as a mother would always clash with her role as a billionaire. But one chef, with nothing but oats, apples, and patience, had changed something in her heart. She returned the next day, then the next. At first, it was just to thank him, but her baby seemed to recognize him, always stretching her tiny arms toward Ethan with a giggle. Amelia couldn't deny it, her daughter trusted him. And strangely enough, so did she. Over time, Amelia began noticing the man behind the apron. Ethan's laugh was rare, but when it came, it lit up his entire cafe. He worked tirelessly, not just for customers but for Lily, his daughter. Amelia watched the way he would kneel to tie Lily's shoes before school, or sneak an extra chocolate chip into her pancake when she pouted. He wasn't wealthy. He wasn't powerful in the way she was. But he had something far richer. An ability to love fully, without reservation. One rainy evening, after closing hours, Amelia stayed behind. Her baby had fallen asleep against her shoulder, and she sat quietly, watching Ethan clean up. Finally, she whispered, "How do you do it?" Ethan looked up, confused. "Do what?" "Raise a child, with so much love. Alone." Her voice cracked as she confessed, "I can run a billion-dollar company, negotiate with the toughest men in the boardroom, but when it comes to being a mother, I feel lost." Ethan set down the dish he was holding, walked over, and sat across from her. His eyes softened. "You're not lost. You're just scared. I was, too, when my wife passed away. I didn't know the first thing about raising a baby alone. But I learned one thing: children don't need perfection. They just need presence. Your daughter doesn't care about your money or your mistakes. She only wants you." Amelia's tears spilled again, silent but relentless. His words struck something she'd buried deep, the guilt she carried every time she left her daughter for a meeting, the fear that she wasn't enough as a mother. And yet here was a man who had far less than her but gave his child more than she ever thought possible. That night, Ethan made her the same recipe he'd fed her baby weeks ago. He placed the bowl before her and said, "Taste it." She frowned. "That's baby food. Trust me." Reluctantly, Amelia took a spoonful. The warmth spread through her like a hug she didn't know she needed. It wasn't the taste, it was the memory it carried. A reminder of love that required no conditions. And suddenly, she was crying, openly, unashamed. Ethan reached across the table and took her trembling hand. Sometimes the simplest things heal the deepest wounds. "This recipe saved me when I thought I couldn't go on. Maybe it can remind you that you're not alone." For the first time in years, Amelia laughed through her tears. She looked at him, not as a chef, not as a stranger, but as a man who had unknowingly touched her heart. "You've given me more than food, Ethan. You've given me hope." From that day forward, Amelia and her daughter became regulars, not just in the cafe, but in Ethan and Lily's lives. What began as a chance encounter grew into something beautiful, two broken souls finding family in each other. Amelia's world of wealth met Ethan's world of love, and together, they discovered that the richest recipe wasn't written in money or success. It was written in tears, laughter, and the courage to share your heart again.